I recently placed a bid on in an online auction for an old Craftsman bench drill press that's all rusted up. I'm going to see if I can't get this thing cleaned up and restored and operable. They listed it as non-functional. I bought this thing sight unseen, and as you can see, it's pretty rusted here. And like I said, they listed it as non-functional. Well, when I got there, I realized why they listed it at that. It's very obvious that a dog or something has been chewing on this. So before I do anything, I'm going to test and see if this motor actually works. This spins, so that's not rusted up. This here moves just fine. This is all rusted up. And what I want to do is just disassemble this down so I can get it all cleaned up, paint some of these gray areas back. Maybe it might clean up where I can use the original finish. But if you look at this, this is an old Craftsman drill press, 3-speed, 620 to 1300 and then 3100 RPMs, 1/3 horsepower. So let me get an input on this and see what I can do. Before I go any further, I want to make a disclaimer. What I do here is for entertainment, and I don't know what I'm doing half the time, so don't follow along with what I do. Okay, what I did is I peeled the wires back and I shoved them into my cord here. Let's see if the thing runs. I'm going to go at it and put some penetrating oil on some of these areas. I'm out of WD-40, or I'd use that, but I got this PB blaster making a mess, that's for sure. Okay, those are the areas I'm going to start with. Okay, let's see if we can get these loose down here at the base. See, I've got the shaft out. It's right here. Had a couple of set screws. We'll get that on the, I don't know what we'll get it on, but I want to shine that all up. The base is off down here. That's off. Clean all that up. Now I've got the switch out right here. And what I'm working on is to try to get the motor off because the motor's making a little noise and I want to get that taken care of if I can. And the problem I'm facing is, if you look in here, this comes off. I had it off. I got to take this pulley off to get the 2 screws that are holding it on right here underneath this pulley so that I can lift this sheet metal up to get these 2 bolts loose here. Now I'm going to see if I can get that done. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that, but we'll figure something out. I got that pulley off. I ended up getting my gear puller. It actually pulled right off of there. It's got a little bit of a taper to it. I had to do that to get these 2 screws out right there. Let's see if they turn out now. Oh yeah, real easy. Yep, I'm glad I took that off because this allows me to actually get this whole top part off and I can examine and see what we have underneath this. There we go. And then to get the motor off, I just have to finish taking that loose. So now we got all these parts broke down about as far as I'm going to take it. Let me get these laid out and I'll show you what I got. There's all the pieces laying out here. Some pretty small pieces, the switch, the base, everything you see here. I guess the first thing I'm going to do is work on this motor over here and see if I can't get it apart to get the bearings off. I need to take this pulley off. I don't have the right Allen wrench out here. It's a metric. I need to go find me my metrics. I couldn't get that off, but I was able to get the motor apart, and you can see how rusty this is. The bearings are fine. I think all I need to do is clean it up a little bit. I don't know what all this yellow stuff is in there, but it's all over it. And inside of this looks exactly the way it should. Maybe clean this up in there just a little bit. It might be dragging on that some. But let's clean this up and put it back together. Got a little emery cloth here, and I'm just cleaning the inside of the motor. I went ahead and cleaned the other part the same way, but I put it in a vise. That looks good. That's looking good. You can see over there on the vise, got this all polished up around here. Now, I just want to clean the outside of the motor a little bit. I was looking at this yellow stuff that's in here, and I've concluded that that is probably something that was from the factory. And that quick, it's cleaned up. Take a little parts cleaner on there, clean it off, check out the edges, and we should be ready to go with that piece. The next piece I'm going to clean up is this right here. Another piece shined up. Clean it up again with the brake cleaner or parts cleaner. Now let's go get this little piece cleaned up. Here again, we got this piece all cleaned up. What should I do next? Let's work on this piece right here. I'm sanding the table of this with my DeWalt orbital sander. Actually turned out pretty good. I'll have to clean the back side of this. I'm not taking all that paint off. I'm just going to clean it. I'll tape all this off, and then I'll give it a fresh coat of paint when the time comes. The other part of that I did was this right here. It's all cleaned up, and it was this right here that went in here and snugged up. Now I have I got to get the pores cleaned up, clean it out with some brake cleaner or some parts cleaner or something like that. But the next thing I'm going to clean is this part right here. I'll just give you a demonstration on this sander without even doing any more to it. But you can see how rusty this is. You might be asking yourself about now, why am I using a carpenter's tool or woodworker's tool on metal? Well, that's an easy one for me to answer, and I'll tell you why. Because that's what I did all my life, construction. So why would I want to buy brand new tools when I got stuff that works just fine? There you have it. Used my construction sander to get this cleaned up. It's all ready to go, except I need to get the sides and stuff sanded down. I'll get this bottom cleaned up and get her ready for paint. I got a little bit to get in around the edges here, the sides. I'll get that. I couldn't get in there with my wire wheel. I'll have to get a drill with a brush, and I'll get that all cleaned up. I'm going to clean the underneath side of this next. I don't want to get on this decal. I don't know where to buy decals like this. If you know, would you drop a line in the comments about where a good place is to get decals? I'd really like to know. And I'm sure you're a little bit better on the computer than I am. I'm going to go ahead and get this cleaned up. It's not perfect, and I didn't clean the inside, but I will spray it. I didn't want to lose any of the decals or anything like that, but I got most of the paint off of it. We'll clean her up, put the polishing touches on it when we get ready to paint. That leaves me the rest of this engine here. I'll do my best to get the outside of this cleaned up somewhat. And then I have this to get cleaned up. Then I think we're ready for paint. You can see that I have the parts set out here, cleaned up, and ready to go for painting. I've got it masked up, and I did test a couple of parts, and I'll show you that right here. I put some rust proofer on this because there was a little bit of rust on it. It's black, and I did prime the base of this and put a little bit of finish on to make sure I had the right color. That's going to be close enough. I have my paint ready, so let's get to spraying this stuff. I have my paint hooked up. I'm just using a Rust-Oleum paint. It'll be fine on this. I'm just going to give it a light coat to start with. You can see how that's going on. It looks really good. We'll just let that dry a little bit. Once this bottom dries, then we can turn it over. I'll give it another coat, but once that dries, I can flop it over and do the top side. Let's get this thing back here painted. This is what I put primer on yesterday to just test it. It wasn't the right color. It would have worked, but it wasn't quite dark enough to suit me. I've got my stuff laid out here on this piece of OSB, and you can see how I've masked this off. There's a trick to cutting the tape around these sharp edges. I'll show that to you sometime. You might know it. It may not be as much of a trick as I think, but it's the way I learned years ago, and I know some of the processes have been lost. Let's get the top side of this motor. Yep, this is turning out really nicely. I'm going to try not to get it on too heavy, but you can see how that's working. Boy, that looks good. It's going to turn out just fine. Okay, I'm going to let that dry. I'm going to give it another coat or two, and I'll bring it back in when we get this all painted. It turned out actually pretty nice. I'm satisfied with it. Now all I need to do is just let them dry a bit. It'll probably have to dry overnight. I've learned from experience that if I don't let stuff like this dry properly that it gets a little tacky, and if I get in a hurry to reassemble, then I transfer my dirty mittens onto that. So I don't want to do that today. So let's just let this set. We'll get some heat on it. I may blow a little air over it and we'll see how it turns out later today, but chances are we'll have to finish this tomorrow. One more look at this stuff, but without delay, I'm going to start assembling this old drill press. You can see it down here. Like I said, it painted up real nice, and it's not sticky, just a tear, but I mean, it's good enough. So let's get that thing put together. One thing about putting products like this, or tools, disassembly, you never really know exactly where the next piece goes. You kind of got a real good guess, but you're not sure. So it's like a puzzle, but a puzzle that has to be put together pretty exact. And this is one of those. Now I'll get a wrench to fit this right here. Nice and tight. I think what I'll do next is we'll put this piece on. It slips over here. Before I do that, I'm going to get some emery cloth and clean these areas up here that's got a little overspray on them. Okay, let's see if that goes on just a little easier. Yep. We'll open that and we'll get that down on there. And we'll snug it up. We'll go ahead and put this on. It goes right here on the back. There's a little paint in between that, but actually that doesn't matter. Okay, the way that works, you just loosen that and that'll slide wherever you need it to go. So for right now, we'll leave it right there. And like I said, this is a process. I'm almost certain that this would go on next. It would slip on here. And again, that's got overspray in here with those tight tolerances. I'll need to clean that up. Now let's see if that goes on. Oh yeah, that'll go on a lot better. But I want to get a couple of rags like this. Turn that down like that. And there's a set screw that goes in. It's actually two of them, but that only had one, so I'm not sure what the deal is on that. This has to be squared up. I'm not 100% sure how I'm going to do that, because I guess it doesn't matter as long as it goes down straight. Wonder if there's a mark inside here. I really should have marked that, I guess. Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to move this around, and like I did in the old days in construction, I'm going to do it the way I know it should be done. And that means I'm going to eyeball it. It has to go that way just a little bit. I know a way I can do that actually. so it's not a guess, by golly. First of all, we will measure this. That is, wow, 7 inches. So half of 7 is 3.5. Where I went to school might be a little different from where you went. And then what I'm going to do is hold that here. And if it comes into the center of this, then we're good. Let's see what center that is. That measures exactly 2 inches. So I'm going to mark it at 1. And we're going to put this right on this table and bring that right over. You're not going to believe this. That is so close to me eyeballing it. You would think I measured ahead of time, and I'm kidding you, but we're going to tighten it up right there. Back in the day when I did a lot of construction work, we used our eyes for a lot of things, and to sight stuff in, to get it straight, we was mostly, well, most of the time we were right on. Okay, I'm pretty sure the next thing I need to do is get this motor mounted, because I can't mount it if that bolt's there. That goes like that right there. You know how I know? Because this pulley has to go up. Let me get the mounting bolts. What I don't know is if it goes on the top or if it goes on the bottom. So I'm just going to set these in here and let it set. What I mean is right here, there's 2 ways this could go underneath or it can go on top, which would make about a 1/2 inch difference. And a 1/2 inch difference would be a big deal if this isn't lined up just perfectly. As that goes like that then. And with this pulley setting right on top of there like that, I might as well put that nut on too. And then let me sight this. I've got to put this in place, at least temporarily, so it's not moving around. And then I want to get the belt on there and sight that belt. That's where it goes. It's perfect. Okay. So, that being said, let's take this back apart. Let's get this back off. We'll set this right here again. Okay, we're good. Good. So you can see better here what I was talking about, this on top. And then the way that fastened, they had this so you had to take the motor off. We'll go ahead and put this nut on here. I see what I'm doing wrong. That washer doesn't go on this. That's the problem. We'll take that like that. And we will put that there and we'll get, see, and then that just tightens up to hold this where it needs to go. And so we'll tighten those up once we get the rest of this put together. Okay, now we're ready for this. Well, you remember me saying that sometimes you got to do things that in the right order. This fits right in there, and I can't get it in there. What this is a bump. So I guess I have to loosen something up and get that pushed back. Take this back off. Open this up and now slide this in with the spring. This has a little rubber bump on it, and that actually, that's interesting. I wonder if that's designed. It is. I didn't know that. It's actually designed to, I don't know if this goes here or not, but it's designed to have these loose, not tight, and this little spring in here actually pushes it where it needs to go, and that's what keeps it tight. So, okay, I'm learning. So these just need to be snugged up so they can run freely. Gotcha. Didn't know that. And you probably did, and you was wondering why I was putting that together like that, but I just didn't know that. There. And see, it still has a little play, and if I want, I can actually go like that and make it tighter, and then you loosen this, and you can push it. There you go. Pretty slick. Let's put this little knob on right here. Maybe. Should be able to just turn that tight with my fingers. Oh yeah, perfect. I'm going to go ahead and screw these in. When I got these, they were all chewed up, and you can see now I took them on and I cleaned the edges up just a little bit. They're not perfect, but they're better. Just a little cheap bench drill, but it's cute and it's coming together real good. Next step is to see what we can do with this wiring. And then just a few little finish touches. Yeah, most people would just replace the blade, but I still sharpen them. Technique I learned from an old feller back when I was 16 years old. I'm 70. I've got the green ground on. I've got to get I need to get the white ones hooked up. So I need a connector like this, I guess. I'm going to cut this wire here just a little bit. We'll get it stripped. It must be 14 gauge because this works perfectly on the 14. I'm not sure what the other one is. I take that back. It's 12. This must be 14. Let's see if that strips. Yes. So, I know that these two go here, but how am I going to connect them so that I don't have to worry about it? What these are is a little solder connection. It's designed to shrink around the wire. I've concluded that that's the easiest, fastest, and best way for me to put these back together. But what this does is it melts that little solder tab right down on the around the wires very nicely, actually. That's tight. But before we get too far carried away with this, like I do with about everything, is I'll test it to make sure it's gonna work, because if it doesn't, you know what, I'm gonna put this one in first. since it's going to be a little bit hard to get that to bend around, and this one will go right in there now. The torch is an overkill. Heat gun would work just fine. You have to remember, something like this isn't designed to use outside in the weather, like a power saw or something like that. So what I need to do is just let that cool. Yeah, this one's already cooled down, but then that wire will go, ouch, that wire will go right on there like that. Something like that anyway. I think it was turned the other way though, to be honest with you. As with all Craftsman tools, they've got this little key that you can put in here and take out. That keeps it child-proof. And see, now that makes the switch work. So what I want to do is put my plug on here and test it. So let me get that on. I got this put together, but boy, are they hard. I'm just going to go ahead and squeeze that down into place. I got the cord here. Let's plug it in. So far, so good. Let's see if she runs. Look at that. Okay, let's get this thing all put back together and we'll test her out. That's running way faster than I want it to run though to test it. We'll have to adjust the speed of it. And did you notice that that bearing's a lot quieter? That engine isn't nearly as loud as what it was. So cleaning that up like that, I think actually made a difference. Okay, I'm going to go at it and put this stuff all back together. This is missing a chuck or key to the chuck, and I happen to have a DeWalt drill, and it's the same size, believe it or not. So let's tighten that up, and then let's run it down to see if it's going to be centered in that hole. Because we want that to go down through the hole. Yep, right there. We can take that up just a little. Yep, let's take it up to about right there. Nope. Let's take it up. Let's go about right there. Perfect. I've got a piece of steel here. Pretty good size. I'm going to clamp it on because I like my fingers. And the way I'm going to do that is just use this C-clamp. I put oil on there. You can see it there, maybe. Let's turn this on. And well, I have to say that that little thing worked pretty darn good. Well, what do you think, guys, gals? From a piece of junk to something that operates really nice, and it even looks half decent. Okay, I'm good with this. I'm good with it. How did you think that worked? I thought it worked pretty good. I just need to get me a chuck for it. Maybe I can find one in the hardware store or online or something. I'm not even sure what size chuck that is. Not chuck, but key. What size key it is. I can read what kind of chuck it has on it. So I'll probably just order one online, maybe Amazon or something like that. It's easier. I could go in the store. I'm pretty sure they don't have this. They might. I'll check there first. If you know what size that actually is, that would help me out. But yes, I'm really pleased with the way this turned out. If you like the content that I bring you each week, sometimes 2 videos, sometimes 1, it varies. Even though I'm retired, I still struggle to find a time to be in here. Seems like everybody else wants to control that at times. If you like what I bring each week, like I said, 1 to 2 videos a week, sometimes live. Appreciate if you subscribe to my channel. It helps me out. It's encouraging to see that. And if you want to see more videos like this, watch this right here. Can it be fixed? Sure it can. Can you fix it? You're darn right you can. Until the next one.